is to select a absent or to replace a member of the school board. At this time, I'd like to have a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the agenda and approve it. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Item passes. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Andy for an announcement about our situation this afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, board members and members of the greater community. I was able to be in contact with Jonathan, one of our candidates, this afternoon, and I'm going to read just part of an email that he sent to me. I'm sorry to send this email, but I have to withdraw my consideration for the open school board position due to an unforeseen family medical emergency. Thank you so much for being willing to offer up a virtual option, but the timing will not work, and I will need to be with my family during these difficult times. And so I had a very nice conversation with Jonathan this afternoon amidst all the different things that he's going through, and indicated that we would find a time and find a way to get him involved in the school district when he and his family are indeed ready. So I regret to have to share that information with you, but that became top of mind just this afternoon.
Thank you, Andy. It's with great sadness that we accept his withdrawal from consideration to be a board member. At this time, we're going to take a recess for about 10-15 minutes, and then at that time, we'll continue the process by interviewing Ann Christie, the other person that had expressed an interest in filling the role of school board member for our district. So at this time, we'll take a break, and when Ann arrives, we'll do the interview.
Have her about 5:20.
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. We're on break.
Danny, I'll hold till 5:20, and then I'll grab.
I'll tell her when she gets here.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, it's a exciting ride all the time. Yeah, you just never know what's gonna actually be in place at any given time, so you just kind of roll with it. Yeah, yeah. Get a little bit of time before we get.
Now we're set.
But you're doing circuit breakers and things like that, isn't it?
We're going to go around
On fast or
in
slow.
this fashion.
You know, you can
So
have it start
you'll be
hitting your
number
profitability right away.
6. No, number 5.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
What about people buying?
We're US and Canada, so
You will
yeah, so
question
yeah, so
number 6 is yours.
I, you know,
I know, but they're trying to stick to the timeline, and she was the 5.
and we've been.
Oh,
we've
no,
done it
I'm
before,
sorry,
you
number
know, so
5.
it's just
Number 5. Kim isn't here.
No,
all your
they're
costs
just
and you adjust it a little bit and see what happens long term.
Find IT wise, do you have?
comfortable and ready to go, we'll start. Okay. First of all, thank you, Ann, for your interest in wanting to fill the open position on the school board. We're going through the questions that were given to you earlier, and we're going to start with Dan and work our way around, and we'll go through the rounds twice. We'll go through all 10 questions, each taking a turn. And then we'll give you a chance as well at the end to ask any questions that you might have of us, okay?
Okay.
So with that, I'll have Dan start with the first question.
Sure thing. Please tell us about yourself and your background and why you've applied for the vacancy on the school board.
Thank you. First of all, good evening, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to interview. I was born and raised here in New Prague. I am a full-blooded Czech. In fact, I'm fourth generation here. My maiden name is Ambrose. I'm a New Prague High School graduate, and as are my mother and my son. I have a BA and a master's, both in education. I have a graduate level STEM certificate, all from the University of St. Catherine and St. Paul. Additionally, I have a degree in psychology and coaching certification, with most of my experience being in girls' gymnastics. However, after graduating with my BA, it was during the Jimmy Carter administration, the oil embargo, and high inflation and high unemployment, so there really were no teaching jobs to be had. So I jumped into the insurance industry, and I spent 9 years in the insurance industry, starting in Minnesota and then ending in Texas. I worked in both claims administration, then as a writer, and finally in sales and service. So in 1988, I returned to Minnesota, where I did some volunteering and substitute teaching in the New Prague and Montgomery schools, but mostly at New Prague Elementary and Middle School. In 1989, St. Wenceslaus School offered me a full-time teaching job. I took it, and I taught for 32 years. Then I retired. The following school year, though, I was actually employed by the New Prague School District. I homeschooled 2 little boys mornings, September through December, so that they could receive COVID vaccinations and get back into the school. Since then, I've done some substitute teaching. However, one of the first things that I did after I retired was I was trained as an election judge, and I've worked for the New Prague City each election since then. I really am just enjoying life. I do some other volunteer work, specifically for Southern Valley Alliance. They're located in Shakopee, and they are an organization that assists folks who have experienced domestic violence or abuse. So as to why I've applied for this position, you know that I've been attending meetings for a while now, for a little over 3 years. I've developed a sincere interest in our district, specifically at the governance level. I just genuinely care. A lot has happened in the last 3 years, and I feel that I have what it takes to help us through whatever is to come. I am retired, but education just seems to be my life's calling. I also have the time to devote to the position, and I think that I have the appropriate desire to serve.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anne. We're glad to have you here.
Thanks.
I have the next question. New Prague Area Schools has a proud tradition and promising future. What do you see as our school's district's greatest strength and biggest challenges going forward?
Thank you. As for the greatest strengths, I've said this before many times publicly and privately. I think that our greatest strength lies in our teachers, but I would include our administration, and I would be remiss to not include our support staff. In the last 37 years since I've been back in New Prague, I have had so many and varied opportunities to interact with so many different district faculty and staff members. And I've always been impressed with their expertise and their knowledge and their professionalism and their dedication to the district, to their work. I think that they work well together to provide a quality education for all of our students. I think that we should be proud, and I think our district is a huge asset to the greater community. As for the greatest challenge, it's an easy answer, but a challenging answer. I think that funding is our biggest challenge. I would point to a few things. We have had 2 failed referendums, which has resulted in some pretty severe budget cuts, which included structural changes, reductions in PE, which was not very popular, increased class sizes, changes in educational model at the middle school, transportation, and I'm sure there are other things that I'm not naming. I would also point to our community task force, which recently identified a very long list of needs for maintenance and improved security to our entrances. And I am certain that we will have to go to the taxpayers and ask one more time to please help us out. I would also point to projections in enrollment. It shows a clear decline as the district exists now, which of course equates to less revenue. And then most recently, the Department of Education has been closed at the federal level, and so there's a huge question looming over, us as to what does that mean? Does it mean that we will lose funding there as well? Our state is looking at having to make some budget cuts, so and those expenses would naturally get passed on down to the county level. So that sounds pretty dire and very challenging. But I guess I would end by saying in the 3 years that I've been attending meetings and listening very, very carefully to everything that Sandy Lynn has had to say and how she thinks and even, passing the hat to Brian Fell. I'm just so impressed, and I have so much respect for their abilities, and I have the utmost confidence in their analytical skills and their ability to move puzzle pieces around and make things work and provide transparency to all of us and to, so I would end on a more hopeful note and say I'm confident that we, will survive whatever comes our way as far as funding goes, and we will be creative and we will continue to provide our students with a quality education.
Thanks, Ann.
Yeah.
What would your short-term and long-term priorities be if appointed to serve on the school board?
Thank you. Again, I would say short-term, we're going to have to deal with the findings of the community task force and the funding for those projects if they are going to happen. Short-term, I would also say that communication is going to be key. Communicating the very real need for these projects, and communicating as honestly and as transparently as we can. So that the district taxpayers respond positively as we ask for help. Long-term, I guess, looming over the horizon is, kind of the known that we will be looking at smaller student populations in the years to come. And so I think just being prepared for that and planning out, what we can do creatively as far as programming and educational models and just maintaining excellence in educational delivery. Thank you.
And please describe a time when you exhibited leadership in the greater community.
Thank you. When I was teaching full-time, my time was really dedicated to my students. But I can point to a leadership in the community as far as some projects that I developed while I was teaching full-time. One event that I developed was called Cardboard Box City. My 7th and 8th graders assembled cardboard structures, which we slept on for one night on the front lawn of the campus in the dead of winter. And the purpose of the project was simply to call attention to the plight of the homeless. As far as it being a community event, I will point to some community engagement, which included an invitation to the greater community to donate outerwear, which was then donated to Sharing and Caring Hands in Minneapolis, contributing money in the form of pledges, which we donated to nonprofits both locally and in the metro area, all serving homeless people. I invited community members to participate in some early evening learning stations in the gym. We canvassed businesses for cardboard boxes and had asked them to save for us annually. The police were contacted and they agreed to provide a heavier presence for us. So a community event. I developed other large-scale events that engage the community as well. For example, a hunger awareness banquet that I did each year. Something a little bit different, I participated in Mensa, which is Minnesota Non-Public Accrediting Association. So several times in my teaching career, I agreed to participate as a team member and go to a particular school who had just completed a strategic plan. And our job was to study the plan ahead of time and then go to the school for about 4 days. And during those 4 days, we toured, we interviewed students, staff, and parents. We examined documentation that they had compiled. And we then, in the end, completed a report that notated that they were actually doing what they said they were doing, noting areas of strength, areas of concern, areas where they may have been missing some documentation. But since my retirement, I would point to a couple examples, one being an adult immersion trip that I organized to Guatemala. There was a lot of prep and planning involved, including arranging flights, coordinating in-country transportation, hotel stays with sponsoring organizations or host organizations, developing a very complete and robust itinerary, and of course getting everybody home in one piece. One last example is that I was part of the advocacy team in an effort to get the last referendum passed. So my job really was to work on publicity and getting the facts out to people via posters and at the businesses here in New Prague and in Lonsdale. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Diane. Number 5, a challenge for districts is to increase student achievement with flat or declining resources. What criteria or method would you use to determine priorities for funding various programs?
The criteria that I would use, kind of in order, I would say, is what is our financial situation right now? What are the mandates? What are the costs of the programs? How many students are served by a particular program? What is the overall value of that program? What are the expected repercussions of changing or eliminating the program? And are there any other options outside of just of a district-funded program? Those would be my criteria. As far as models go, I cannot emphasize enough how much I appreciate, even though I wasn't part of it, appreciate the district utilizing a community task force when appropriate. I just really think that it helps with community awareness, community buy-in, and transparency. I also appreciate the model that was used when addressing the most recent budget cuts. I know that there was an administrative team that met regularly. There were teams within each of the buildings that met regularly. And then there were people within the buildings who were appointed to make sure that everything was communicated to the families involved. And I really like that model.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please discuss what you see as the school board's role and what you see as the superintendent's role in running the school district.
Thank you. The school board's role is to govern the school district on behalf of all students, their families, and the residents of the district, always putting students first and ensuring the best education possible with the available resources. Additionally, the school board's role is to set policy for the district, again, for the good of all students, all stakeholders, but always in line with the Constitution and all federal, state, and local laws. I see the role of the superintendent as one, to work in tandem with the board, to administer policy, to oversee the administration of each building and department within the district, and then one of communication. So communicating with the board, communicating with his staff or his or her staff, really all district employees and the public. I think it's essential that our superintendent transparently provide facts and just keep all stakeholders in the loop.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, next question. What do you see as the role of public education in our local communities?
Well, I think you and I have agreed in the past that the role of public education is the very bedrock of every single community. I would point to mission trips that I've led down into Guatemala with high school students. I can't even count. There were over 10, maybe 15. And I remain very involved with a couple of nonprofit organizations based here in Minnesota, but operating down in Guatemala. And both of these organizations have evolved, but are very holistic in their approach to lifting the people up and improving lives. But both have come to put education at the forefront of everything that they do, because they know, they have figured out that educating the child not only lifts up the child, it lifts up the entire family, really the community, and even so far as to say the whole country. And so I would say that we can never, ever take education for granted here or anywhere. Even faced with the challenges that we are, I just would never want to settle for mediocrity or bare bones. I think that everyone, we all need to fight, work hard to provide each and every student with the best education possible. Are there options to public education? Yes. And I think that's a good thing. But I think that public education remains the absolute bedrock and must be available to all students, and therefore should be funded adequately to prepare students for a future that is both fulfilling and productive, whether that means moving on to college or trade school, joining the military, or jumping right into the workforce.
Thanks, Anne.
A parent or teacher calls or emails you asking that you take care of a problem they're having with their, I'm guessing, child at school, having at their school, sorry.
That's okay.
There's a word maybe missing. What would you do?
Well, it's kind of a vague, open-ended question, but I appreciate it and I understand the purpose of it. So I'm just, as a retired teacher, I'm, here thinking a bit like a teacher and imagining you getting an email about something that has gone wrong in my classroom. So I think as a board member, the first thing that I would do is simply acknowledge their email and just wanting to ensure that they feel seen and heard, because sometimes that's the biggest problem. I might tactfully explain that problems are most satisfactorily resolved if they are done with the person or persons most directly involved. And I might say, I hope that you've made that attempt, but if you haven't, I would encourage you to do so. And if I can tell from the email that they have and aren't satisfied, then I might suggest that they go up the chain of command, which might be the principal, and communicate with them. But I guess in the end, what I would say is that I would forward their email to perhaps the principal of that building and carbon copy Dr. Volmuth, as he is my direct contact, my go-between between the board and everybody else in the district. And I would say that I would expect a reply from the principal or Dr. Volmuth in a timely manner, and if I didn't feel that I was getting a timely response, then I would follow up. But I don't think that I would pursue any further communication with them, if that makes sense, because if it's a situation that should really be resolved at a different level, then I wouldn't want to put myself in the middle. Does that make sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tell us about a time when you had to support a decision you disagreed with. How did you handle it, and what was the result?
Okay. I get this question. I understand why you're asking this question, but I will tell you that it makes me giggle just a little bit. Most recently, I disagreed with the City of New Prague's decision to install a sidewalk and a boulevard across my front lawn. It's in conjunction with street reconstruction, which is slated for this coming summer. I am going to lose 12 feet of my front yard, and I'm not happy about it. So what did I do about it? I attended some neighborhood meetings so that I could gather up some facts. And then I chose to speak at a city council meeting to explain my logic, my reasons for what I saw as a lack of any need for a sidewalk on my street. And the result is what you would expect. As we all know, it's kind of hard to fight City Hall. So the sidewalk will go in, and I will be paying for it. Again, I'm not happy about this, but I completely understand. Number one, I won't always own that home. The sidewalk is for the beautification and the safety of those who, use the street. And it benefits the whole community. So it's one of those situations where I just, you just kind of have to step away and stop staring at the tree and see the whole forest for what it is. Again, I don't like it, but I 100% accept their decision.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Last question. Please provide a closing statement regarding why you should be appointed to the vacant seat on the school board.
Okay. I hope that you've heard in my voice tonight that I really do have a vested interest in the district, the bedrock of my community. I do hope that you've heard that I have a sincere desire to serve all students and their families. I have no hidden agenda. Having attended our school board meetings for over 3 years, it seems to me that I do have the pertinent education, experience, training, knowledge. And I believe that my skill set honestly is exactly what is needed. I'm very organized. I prefer to be very well prepared. I'm an active listener, a team player. I'm very analytical. I enjoy playing devil's advocate and asking questions so that I can see things from multiple perspectives. I am very creative. That was probably the favorite part of being a teacher. I also have a lot of time during the day because I'm retired and I'm enjoying life. As a retired teacher, I have firsthand knowledge of what it actually takes to run a classroom today. And I think that's why I would make a great school board member. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for your time. It's precious, I know that.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Thanks, Ann.
What we're going to do now is I'm going to open it up for a short discussion, and then I'll ask for a motion to approve you as our next school board member to fill the open vacancy. But you're certainly welcome to stay, of course. You don't want to miss this meeting, do you? At this time, I'll open it up to the board members. Any comments or any reflections that you'd like to share at this time?
I just want to say how impressed I am with the answers that she gave tonight, and I think the fact that she has the education, experience, enthusiasm, and knowledge to do this job well makes me excited to vote for her.
Anybody else?
And I too appreciate everything you bring to the table, from your work experience, your personal life, as well as your perspective and your knowledge on our current situation and your vision to where you see we're going. So I'll be happy to support you.
I just wanted to say thank you to the community, because I know for both candidates that we received an overwhelming amount of kind of positive feedback for both of them. So for the community that's involved and did send that, like, really appreciate it. I think there's a lot of good things that you bring to the table with your experience.
Ann?
Nope, I don't have any thoughts.
Ann, I'd like to compliment you. You did an excellent job in the interview process. I think you brought up some salient points that made a lot of sense, and you answered them very well. I think our school district will be well served with you as a school board member. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve Ann Christie as the replacement on our school board.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Congratulations, Ann. And at this time, I'll call for an adjournment on the special board meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, and we'll have our next real board meeting at 6 o'clock.
I'll be on time for that one.
Post the fake one then.